Hello everyone, my name is Isabel Benarous and today I would like to speak to you about the science of biological decoding. So the purpose of biological decoding is to decode the emotional meaning of our illnesses and behaviors, as well as the root cause of our life challenges. In essence, each organ in the body has a function, and it is connected to a specific group of neurons in the brain that monitor the cells within that particular organ. So the brain controls the behavior of our cells. And when a human being is experiencing a state of intense stress, the brain has the capacity to prompt an adaptive response in the organ that is metaphorically linked to the emotion a person is creating based on a problem that they cannot solve. So as human beings, we express our emotional struggles in a metaphorical or figurative sense. And subconsciously, it is our primal brain who is orchestrating how our emotions are expressed within our organs. And our perceptions are unique. So an experience will awaken our primary visceral maps. Those maps are connecting our internal sensations with their corresponding organs. For example, based on our felt experience, we might consider an experience to be disgusting, which corresponds to the colon. It can be considered suffocating, which corresponds to the lung. It can be considered stinking, which corresponds to the sinuses, or indigestible, which corresponds to the stomach, and so on. So you understand that our emotions resonate with our organs in a very intimate way. Now let's understand unmanageable stress. We've all been there. Something happens in our life that momentarily suspends our ability to reason. We are experiencing a shock. There is a problem that we cannot resolve consciously. It can be a betrayal, the unexpected loss of a loved one, being fired, a brutal separation, a divorce. We are taken over by our emotions, which prevents us from coping logically. We have an emotional distress which signals our subconscious mind that we are not meeting our needs. And when a need is not being satisfied, our stress level rises instantly, thus soliciting a biological solution to help us cope. This process happens subconsciously. We express biologically the solutions to the problems we cannot solve in our mind. And we are programmed to deal with our problems momentarily through our organs. When we resolve the problem in a practical way or by the way of detachment, which means minimizing or even not looking at the problem in the same way, looking at the problem from a different point of view, the biological expression is no longer necessary because the problem no longer exists in the mind. Now imagine how a woman maybe cannot accept how she was humiliated at work, and that triggered for her intestinal issues. So the intestine is the organ that permits absorption of food so that we can be nourished. And food that is rotten, such as a rotten oyster, will not be accepted by the intestine. For instance, food poisoning is a reaction of the intestine that is rejecting poison and stops it from entering the system, the bloodstream. So the subconscious brain does not know the difference between real, imaginary, virtual, or symbolic. And that's very important to understand that. Because when the woman feels that a remark is unacceptable, the information that is recorded by her brain says that there is something that is unacceptable in her system. And for the subconscious mind, the autonomic brain, a rotten oyster or a rotten remark is handled in the same way, through an intestinal reaction. So you understand how our organs are expressing solutions in ways that are a metaphor sometimes, but the program of survival will be the same as if it was real. And so for us as human beings, it is always a matter of how we perceive a situation and the kind of information our brain receives while we are experiencing a high moment of stress. What is it that we are saying to ourselves? What is the emotion that is connected to what we perceive? And how high is our stress rising during that moment? Our subconscious uses the body to express our stresses, because when the stress stays in the mind for too long, it can create an overload. And it can put us in danger of exhaustion because we dwell on the problem for too long. We don't sleep, we don't eat, or we are distracted because we are so preoccupied and we cannot focus on the dangers of our environment. So the stress is handled biologically when it cannot be handled mentally. And each organ has the potential to become the target of our emotions. Fortunately, biological decoding permits you to find the root cause of the emotional problem, and it shows you how to resolve it.